Welcome back to Barn and Soul, the podcast where farming meets heart, history, and the rare and wonderful. I'm Kendall, and today's episode is one I feel like I say this a lot, but it's one I've been thinking about for a while because it taps into something ancient in us, that tiny, stubborn piece of the human heart that believes, even in impossible moments, that life finds a way. We're talking about species we thought were gone. I mean gone, lost, extinct. And then, one day, they reappeared. Not in a fantasy novel, not in Jurassic Park, but in the real, natural world. Climbing, swimming, crawling, blooming its way back into the storybook of life. Today, we will dive into the most extraordinary rediscoveries of the last century and what they mean for conservation, farming, and anyone who loves the living world. But first, as always, some fast facts. I'm going to call this our Nature's Plot Twist edition. Scientists estimate that over 30 species per year are rediscovered globally, animals and plants once declared extinct. Many rediscoveries happen because habitats become accessible again after wars, fires, seasonal floods, or political conflict. Some species were never gone. They were simply rare, quiet, and living in pockets humans don't regularly visit. Rediscovered species often show remarkable genetic resilience, surviving in microhabitats or small founding populations. And conservation groups say rediscoveries often lead to new protected areas, meaning one species can save an entire ecosystem. All right, let's step into some stories. I don't know why that made me think of Jack Black just now. I'm sorry. Anyway, the Lazarus effect. Why extinct isn't always forever. So, there's a term biologists use for these miracles: Lazarus species. It refers to organisms that disappear from data, vanish from surveys, fall off the conservation radar, and then suddenly reemerge years or even decades later. And I love the term because it's dramatic, but also kind of tender. It acknowledges something humbling. Sometimes nature knows how to hide. And sometimes the world is wider than our assumptions. Sometimes extinct just means you were looking in the wrong place. Let's start with a species that made scientists gasp out loud. The coelacanth. 65 million years missing. Picture this. You're sorting through a fisherman's catch in South Africa in 1938, and someone pulls out a blue, prehistoric-looking fish that should not exist. That is exactly what happened when the coelacanth, believed to have gone extinct with the dinosaurs, was found alive. This fish hadn't been seen in the fossil record for 65 million years, and yet there it was, gliding through deep waters all that time, just minding its business. Scientists thought this was impossible, but the ocean reminded us we know almost nothing. Two populations exist today. One near the Comoros Islands and another near Indonesia. Both critically endangered, but profoundly real. A literal living fossil. The Lord Howe Island stick insect, the tree lobster, something that defied extinction. Imagine an insect the size of your hand, glossy and black and ancient looking. Locals once called it the tree lobster. It lived on Lord Howe Island, which is a little bit off the coast of New South Wales, Australia. It is said that rats, invasive rats, wiped out this insect in the early 1900s. Gone, believed to be fully extinct. Or so we thought. Then, in 2001, two researchers climbed Ball's Pyramid, a needle-shaped volcanic rock that sticks out of the Pacific, and they found a tiny population literally clinging to a few scraggly bushes. There were 24 individuals that remained at the time. But today, thanks to captive breeding, its numbers now sit in the tens of thousands. A species truly resurrected. Then we have the black-footed ferret, better known as America's comeback kid. We're going to bring it closer to home now. The black-footed ferret, North America's only native ferret species, was actually officially declared extinct in 1979. Gone from the wild, closed book, end of story. But nature does love a plot twist. In 1981, a ranch dog in Wyoming trotted up to a house with something quite unusual in its mouth, a dead ferret. The family, confused, called biologists. And when researchers arrived and started searching the surrounding prairie dog colonies, they actually made an amazing discovery. A tiny hidden population of this ferret had survived. That one dog had uncovered the last black-footed ferrets on Earth. From just 18 surviving individuals, scientists launched one of the most ambitious recovery efforts in U.S. conservation history. And through captive breeding, disease management, vaccination against sylvatic plague, and coordinated reintroductions across the plains, the species slowly began to rebound. Today, black-footed ferrets live in multiple states and protected sites, with hundreds thriving in the wild and hundreds more safeguarded in breeding programs. Another species brought back from the brink, at this time because one ranch dog changed the fate of an entire breed. That's cool, huh? Next, we have the takahe, a flightless bird hiding for 50 years. The takahe of New Zealand is a bird straight out of a storybook, round, iridescent, almost jewel-like. It's also flightless, which made it incredibly vulnerable to predators introduced by humans. By 1898, the species was declared extinct. For half a century, no one saw a single sign. No tracks, no feathers, nothing. And then, in 1948, in a remote, mist-wrapped valley surrounded by towering mountains, a field team made a discovery that stunned the world. A small population of the takahe bird had been quietly surviving, unseen, for 50 years. What followed was one of conservation's most determined recovery efforts. Breeding centers, predator control, habitat management, all built around the idea that a species everyone had given up on deserved one more shot. Today, there are over 500 takahe. Takahe? I don't know, man. Potato. Tell me how to say this correctly. Still endangered, regardless how you pronounce it. It's still fragile, but it's walking that earth with us. So It's a species that clearly refused to disappear. And aren't we seeing a trend? If you want to survive, you must escape the human view. Sad to say, but quite true. The ivory-billed woodpecker, a controversial hope. This is one of the most emotionally charged rediscoveries. The ivory-billed woodpecker, one of the largest woodpeckers in North America, was believed extinct for decades. And then sightings began trickling in. A 2005 video, a 2022 acoustic recording, multiple expert reports, and in 2023 and 24, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service released a review saying we cannot confirm extinction. In 2025, new audio evidence suggested breeding pairs may still exist in remote southern swamps. So, is it proven? No. Is it possible? Absolutely. And sometimes hope itself is a conservation tool. And the whole thing about, well, we can't confirm or deny, well, that means you can't deny. So let's go with that for now. The Somali elephant shrew, missing for 50 years. This is a tiny, long-snouted creature that went unseen for, again, half a century. But then, miraculously, somewhere between 2020 and 2021, researchers finally found them scampering through rocky terrain in the Horn of Africa. By 2025, more populations have been documented, showing they were never gone. They, again, were simply living in places where humans are not looking. Another reminder, this world is so full of mysteries, even for the small things. And again, it is kind of comical to think. I'm not saying humans are not capable of tracking and monitoring the status of these animals and these breeds. It's being done efficiently and effectively all the time, everywhere. But we're human. The world's a big place. There's a lot to be looking at. And there are, as we're seeing, a lot of hiding places. So there is, if nothing else, if you leave this episode with nothing else, just know that if you someday hear that one of your favorite animals is going extinct, just know maybe it's not. Like, there's a shred of hope that it's smarter than us. We're at that time of the episode where we reflect. So, why? Why do these stories matter? Why do they hit us right in the chest? Well, they poke holes in the idea that loss is permanent. This reminds us that nature is not passive. It is actually fighting, quietly, albeit, invisibly, most of the time. But it's fighting. It's there, even if we've given up. Because they challenge the belief that extinction is always the end of the story. And when a species is rediscovered, the ripple effect is huge. It doesn't just make headlines, it changes entire conversations and entire conservation trajectories. Rediscovery sparks real habitat protection, emergency funding, new scientific research, long-term recovery plans, and community pride and involvement. They're little, tiny victories, each and every one. One species coming back can lift an entire ecosystem with it. Predators, prey, plants, insects, soil health, literally everything. Rediscovery isn't just a biological event, it's hope made visible. And it's proof that life finds those little cracks to grow in even after us humans assume it's gone. And while we're at it, animals we almost lost but saved in time. There are a couple, starting with the American bald eagle. Believe it or not, they soared from just 417 nesting pairs in the 1960s to well over 316,000 today. That is a comeback so dramatic, it's become a national symbol twice. Gray wolves are padding across landscapes where they hadn't been seen for generations, and this is reshaping ecosystems simply by being allowed to return. Whooping cranes, once down to just 21 birds in the entire world, now number over 800 thanks to one of the most intensive wildlife recovery efforts on Earth. Hawaiian monk seals, once facing near certain extinction, have begun a rare, steady climb upward in population again after decades of concentrated intervention. Blue whales, the largest animals to ever live, are finally showing sustained recovery after being hunted to the brink. Their songs are returning to oceans that had gone quiet. And last but not least, European bison, once completely extinct in the wild, now roam protected forests again, the result of careful breeding, rewilding, and sheer human determination. You know, sometimes the world just doesn't just take. I know it seems like that sometimes, but these 6 examples show us sometimes the world gives a second chance. And this last one about the bison in particular strikes a chord with me because the careful breeding and rewilding and the human determination, I mean, this is how we feel about all of the breeds living at Dalby, but especially the Arapawa Island goat. I think maybe them and the Ossabaw Island hogs are arguably the 2 most endangered animals on our farm. And I'd really love to be able to say someday that we and all the others that are a part of this effort could have that tiny little nod that they're doing better someday. But I'm not giving up. It's just taking time, and it's something that doesn't happen overnight. But positive attitudes go a long way. So if today taught us anything, it's that nature is not passive. She fights for herself. She hides, adapts, waits, endures, and occasionally reappears just when we've given up hope. Rediscovered species remind us that we don't know everything, and honestly, thank goodness for that. There is still mystery out there. There is still wonder. There is still the possibility of the unexpected. Thank you so much for listening to Barn and Soul. And until next time, take care. Don't forget that whether it's the holidays or just beyond, or even if it's the middle of May, you can always go to dalbyfarm.com, visit our country store, purchase something, and you can know that no matter what it is that you get for yourself or for a loved one, 50% of that transaction is going directly into the food bins or the hay bales or whatever the animals need. You are helping us give it to them. So dalbyfarm.com. There's also a space there where you can sign up to sponsor one of the animals. That would be amazing. Also, we don't like to promote Amazon, but there is a wish list circulating that helps us get through the winter. You can find it on our Instagram page. If you're local to us, though, feel free to browse that list and shop local to supply it to us. Obviously, only if you are willing, able, and you want to. Yeah, that's it for me. See you next time. If you enjoyed this episode, please share, leave a comment, maybe a question I can answer in a future episode. Subscribe to the channel, you know the whole deal. And of course, you can visit dalbyfarm.com. We do ship nationwide. Our country store has something for everybody. So I hope, and please know that all purchases, I believe it's at least 50% of each and every purchase goes directly back to the care and upkeep of this family farm. So we thank you very much. I hope this finds you well, and we'll see you next time. Oh, and don't forget to appreciate the rare and wonderful things in life.